Hello everybody. One of the most requested videos I've had over the last 3 months is the road to obtaining a concealed carry permit in the state of California. And not just in the state of California, but a county along with Marin County that is recognized, Sonoma County, recognized to be one of the most stringent and dare I say anti-gun, but certainly not pro Second Amendment in its history of dealing with firearms and things like that. Truth be told, and as someone told me in my CCW course, yes, you have to take a course, that probably until about 2 years ago, there were maybe 5 permits issued in the whole county of Sonoma, and that was typically judges arming themselves. Other than that, concealed carry permit applications just ended up being piled up on the desk of the sheriff's department there, because the city of Santa Rosa turns that function over to the county of Sonoma, and the sheriff's department processes them there. So we had a real turning point in summer when the Supreme Court came out and decided that the right to bear arms shall not be infringed, and unless there's a reasonable and a verifiable reason to not issue a concealed carry permit to an individual, then it has to be issued. Now, what would some of the reasons be for denial of a concealed carry permit? Well, as I said before, up until maybe a year ago, you didn't get one. You could apply, you could sit there forever, right? We're certainly allowed to have it, Second Amendment, but they weren't processing. But grounds for denial would include being a felon, a convicted felon, someone who has been mentally challenged and perhaps institutionalized, or somebody who has a record of drunk driving or narcotics abuse and things like that. And this is a very important aspect to the concealed carry permit, especially up here. It's not a slam dunk like it is in some counties, like El Dorado County and some of the more rural counties. It's not that big a deal. Here it's a big deal because of the population density. So what are the basic steps you have to go through? I can roughly say, and then we'll get into a little detail on that. I can roughly say it's initial culling. It's initial application and look over. Then if you pass that hurdle, it becomes a fingerprint situation. Then if you pass that hurdle, you may or may not get conditional permit approval. Conditional, okay? But the other process is proving yourself capable of handling a firearm in a safe manner. And this is a big one too. Don't want people out there on the range looking at a target and then their shots end up on the moon, or else they've not demonstrated safe handling technique. And it's all about, we'll get into this in a minute, it's all about the instructor. It's sitting there and also going through classroom time, but that instructor is keeping an eye on you and verifying that you are, well, you could be a danger to yourself, or certainly a danger to others in the community. So let's tear into it, the requirements. Bear with me because it's important. It's fresh in my mind and I want to get it in. First thing is you have to go through the basic. I went on a website for the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department once I determined it's the city of Santa Rosa, which is a relatively big city, is not issuing permits. They leave it to the county of Sonoma to do. I went on their website and found where you can apply for a CCW, a concealed weapons permit. And it ended up being about 25 pages, of which probably 2/3 were written things warning you about what it means to have a CCW and what could put you in potential violation, being in a bar, having drinks, being in a situation where you might be abusing or using drugs, a situation where you might have a potential psychotic break or something like that. And you could be a real danger to somebody in that situation. So they're telling you all of these things are important to know. And I have a little shot of one here. All these things are important to know when you apply for the permit. And then they give the boilerplate of what's going to be an automatic disqualifier. And they are going to examine your record through the California Department of Justice and then run your fingerprints through. So I filled out my application. I believe it was like $250 that you had to initially pay. That's not for the CCW. That's just for the application process. And I was very fortunate. A wonderful gal that works, I'm not going to put her name out, but she works for the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department. And she turnkeys the application process. And let me tell you, they're swamped with processing applications now, and I'll tell you the craziest thing when I get to the end of this, so stay tuned. I turned in my initial application, and then perhaps like maybe 6 weeks later, I started in late June, and by early August I got a notification that the process is moving forward. Not conditional approval, but the process is moving forward. At that point, I was required to go show up at the, well, even before that, I had to provide 3 reference letters from people that knew me. Yes, reference letters, and they had to be over a half a page long. So I got those, organized those letters, and thanks to those who provided them, submitted them, and then I was told to make an appointment to come in and get fingerprinted at the Sheriff's Department here in Sonoma County. I went over there, I got my fingerprinting done, and then about a month later in October, I received a conditional approval from the County of Sonoma that my application had been conditionally approved. Is that a CCW? No, there's still more steps to go. Okay, but they said so far, so good, right? These days you don't even need to put down a justifiable reason to have it transporting money. I'm in a bad neighborhood. Well, I'm trans, which is a kind of a, kind of given. And I've also had situations where people have intruded in the rancho. I've received multiple threats on my life over the years, and particularly threats when here on the rancho, but also quite a few on the road from people that don't like me or don't like that I'm trans, and yeah, it's a very rugged situation. I'm not going to get into that, but I have been a gun owner on and off since 1979, so it's not unfamiliar to me, the usage of weapons. So anyway, I went through this process. I get the notification in October. Now, in the meantime, the permit allows you to list up to 3 handguns on your permit. Well, I've already had a Beretta 92 FS for years, a standard Marine Corps, a lot of military police issue. Okay, that was number 1. I went out and bought a Glock 19, and I still have to do the video on that. And just recently, I added the Walther P22 here, which is, although it's a 22 caliber, it's a serious looking weapon. And this is what I want to get and impress on you today, with the importance of understanding that using lethal force is what a CCW is all about. It's not deterrence. It's not pulling it out and waving it all over the place and telling people, I'm going to blow you away if you do this. It's a concealed carry. And the point of it is, if you draw it, the assumption is that your life is in imminent danger or somebody else's life, and you've run out of all other options to diffuse or stop the situation that's unfolding. Well, there it is. You take your shots, you face the consequences. And as I learned in my course, which I'll get to in a minute, there's plenty of consequences when it comes to the civil side of law, especially when somebody gets drilled and wasted, as we used to say, on the streets of Baltimore. For me, I make it quite clear. My first line of defense might be my first line of getting into trouble, but my first line of defense is my mouth to diffuse the situation. Whoa, sorry. Jeez, I didn't mean to do that. Ooh, wow, I'm sorry. Jeez, I'm apologizing. Please accept my apology. 90% of the time, that's going to diffuse the situation, right? Number 2 is escape the area of potential confrontation. Leave the area. Okay, get yourself removed from the situation. For me, part 3 is say hello to Dr. Pepper. And this is a good one. I have the Disabler, 15% red pepper, good for 15 feet. Excellent defense. Theoretically, if you can wield and use this properly, you're going to end that situation rather quickly, because the person that's initiating the confrontation and scaling it upward is going to deal with the consequences of pepper spray, and it's going to last for at least an hour, getting you more time. So those of you who know me on the channel know that I carry pepper spray with me when I'm on the streets, because I'm a long time, one of the first street streamers on YouTube when it became a available app in 2015. I was one of the first on the streets, and pepper spray's always been part of my arsenal. Barring that, or a confrontation that gets out of hand, or a sudden situation where you're in the thick of the suit, you're going to have to make some big decisions. And this is what I want to talk to the next step of the process after the conditional permit approval. Welcome back. Took a break there for a minute. Once you are issued that conditional, not issued, but notified of your conditional approval, you will have to take some additional steps. And the main one is you need to enroll yourself in a CCW training course. And I was very lucky in the county of Sonoma. I found an amazing instructor in an amazing course, Titan with Protective Services and CCW. I'm going to put the link to them down in the description box if you happen to be in the county. I went in there, I don't want to say, I don't really have an ego, but I went in there thinking to myself, what is this guy going to teach me to do? I don't know, right? I've had a not CCW, but I've been handling firearms since before this guy was born, right? Basically. Wow, was I blown away. The legalities of things are absolutely amazing, and it was drilled home to me that this should absolutely be your last resort, which I kind of knew already. But the implications of shooting someone can be severe, particularly in civil court. It was told to me, maybe Johnny's grandmother comes in and says, Johnny was all I had in the world, despite the fact he just got out of jail a month ago, right? Johnny was my whole life, and I depended on him every day, and you've removed him, and I've lost him as a helpmate, and now I'm going to sue your ass, right? You have to understand that this is some of the liability that you open yourself up for, and I am very aware of that now, and I learned a lot. Which situations you think anytime somebody crosses the threshold of your home, you can just waste them? Think again. There's very specific things that you're allowed to do and not allowed to do, even with the Castle Doctrine, okay? I'm not going to give all the course away because you're going to have to take it. But Titan was outstanding and thorough. So you're going to sit in a classroom and you're going to get a handout, and you're going to go through it page by page, how to deal with malfunctions in the weapon, the proper stances to take, right? The proper holstering, the proper draw technique before you even get to the range. And then within the next day or two, you're going to go to the range. And this is really important because the instructor is going to be assessing your confidence, your ability to handle a firearm, particularly when things might go amok and you have a jam or something like that. That's the most dangerous time in a firearm, right? They're going to make sure that your finger is on the trigger unless it's go time, and that you're not pointing it in a way that could potentially harm somebody. So it means it better be down range. Okay, and the proper way to have a holster and the various holsters. A tremendous course. You know, it's not cheap. I think I paid $350 for it, but you need to have it. And you'll be glad that you have it too, because you'll learn a lot. Once that's completed and you're done on the range, if you qualify. And I took multiple weapons out, and now I have to take my Walther P22 out to qualify on that. Hopefully, I can add that to my triple repertoire and finish it up, because I think it's a great little carry piece. But once you finish that, you're issued a certification that you print out. It's signed by the instructor, and let me tell you, Titan is first class. I am so happy. He set something up before the holidays for people, and just an easygoing guy, but very serious. This is the real deal here. If you get to CCW, you're going to be one out of hundreds and hundreds of people that's walking around with a lethal weapon on you. Okay? Now, once that was completed, you go back, you upload, all the time you're uploading your reference letters, you're uploading PDF files, you're putting all of your application, and you're constantly uploading things and updating your file. And then you get the notification that your CCW file is complete and it's been passed to the lieutenant for final approval. Well, about 2 weeks later, I got the notification that I had been approved and I needed to set up a time to come up and pick up my permit. Well, la-di-da-da, I thought it was going to be in the next 24. I thought I was going to have it before Christmas. Like, I can't get it. February 1st. February 1st, I pick up my CCW. At which point the curtain will drop down. There will be people that will ask me, are you carrying? And the whole point of CCW is, mum's a word. Okay, but my simple answer would be to remember the levels of disengagement and protection that I would put in long before I would ever draw and do it up. Okay, and that's the point I want to really instill on guys. A lot of people panic when that time comes. It was told to me that police and law enforcement, their accuracy, when they get into a real shit show firestorm, their accuracy goes to shit. That's why we have so many misses and so many empty spent cartridges around, because your nerves, your blood pressure is going to go up. You're going to tremble. You're going to question yourself. So the best thing to question yourself before you begin this entire process, because the absolute worst thing that can happen is somebody disarms you, turns the weapon on you, well, and turns it into a really, really bad situation. That's why in my heart and mind, I think very, very few people, although it may be perfectly legal, when you avail yourself of it, think about what's out there in the way of protection. Some places tasers are legal. You got pepper spray and other things like that. So now, between the month that I have the approval, right, and I'm waiting to pick up my permit, I went and picked up a Walther P22. I'm going to do a video on this, and I'm going to do a video on my Glock 19, and I have to go back on the range and get qualified. Every piece that you own has to be qualified, up to 3 pieces, so I need to go on the range for that. I'm going to wrap it up here now and tell you it was a long and arduous process that began at the end of June. Could I have accelerated if I'd done things quicker? Of course I could. Could have been enrolled in a course. I could probably reduce that to about 4 months. But now we have a lot of permits being issued, so you're going to wait a long time, and probably permits that were backed up on the desk of the sheriff's department here for, I don't want to say years, I don't know, had to be processed and dealt with. But I'm very happy to avail myself of my Second Amendment right to bear arms. The argument's over. The Supreme Court has ruled, like it or not. And I always tell people that get in my face and get in my grill, if you don't like where things stand in terms of protection. And I'm going to do some videos on why protection is a very important thing coming up, particularly 2023 and 2024. Okay, you're going to know why it's important. But if you don't like this constitutional amendment, which is the second one, which shows some sort of prioritization amongst the framers of the Constitution and the drawing up of the Bill of Rights. If you don't like it, you always can avail yourself of the constitutional process, just like they did with repealing prohibition. Okay? Do things the constitutional way. Okay? And to that I would say, good luck. Well, we live in America, and that's the procedure, the way we do things. So, thank you for watching here. If you have any comments or questions, please put them in the comment section down below. I have a lot of weapons videos here out on the gun range and things like that, stretching back for years. Hope you will subscribe and check it out and follow my journey forward. I have some reviews coming here for some of my weapons, and I would like you to be a part of my channel. So I'm going to close it out now. Thumbs up are appreciated. Once again, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications so you don't miss anything on what I think is one of the biggest variety channels on YouTube. Well, I'm kind of falling apart here, so thanks everybody.